Happy Halloween, everybody. Yes, it's getting very close. The 21st of October today. It's very early in the morning. It's about a little after 12 midnight. And I'm down here in the archives bringing you another installment of my Halloween-themed album covers. Albums that have both creepy music or creepy covers. Sometimes the same, sometimes not both. So we continue here. I believe this is my second installment on the Halloween themed. So let's get started here. What we have playing in the background here is Peter Fromater, Necropolis, Cult of Ghouls from 1985, his private released album. We start off here with Alan Parsons Project, their debut. Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. This album is known for its great atmospheric, dark masterpiece, The Fall of the House of Usher. And I've put this song up on my Google Plus page for my Halloween, so you can see all the excellent music that I would recommend up there, and some of it I'll be showing here. But a guy had put up a video, I don't know, recently anyway, and he had put some really cool graphics that accompany the music as it's playing. And it just fits perfect. I think he did a great job, whoever that was. Now, this one here is more for the subdued, fall-like, cool, damp, wet, wooded area. You say you're standing on a shore of a lake that's steaming with twilight fog, and you're looking across. This music is very atmospheric that Michelle Molini from 75 does on her crypto guitar. Very beautiful. Very eerie. And then Kraftwerk. I recommend this album. The whole album's great, but for the more creepy side, it fits in with the fall and the Halloween theme, is the Hall of Mirrors and then Showroom Dummies. Yes, we break the glass and we walk about. We are showroom dummies. Showroom dummies. Love Kraftwerk. Here is a later album from 1981. This was a very limited pressing, just local in the area where Pulsar, the band members, lived at the time. I think this was a play, stage play, and they turned it into a record album here. And it's got a narrator on there, basically telling a story of a corporate exec that is in an accident and tries to shift away the blame. He runs over a little child in the street. Yeah, but that's the gist of it. But the music is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Highly recommend this album here. And then their pièce de résistance. Halloween, so appropriate for this time of year. I always have to play Pulsar, especially during the October month. One of my favorite months of the year is October. I love this season. I love all of fall. And this is a masterpiece. A dark, foreboding, melancholy, eerie, yet gorgeous and beautifully composed symphonic progressive. Just absolutely awesome. Stellar keywork, drumming, and guitars, and the vocals are also amazing. Highly recommend this classic. The song Halloween is part 1 and 2, stretched over 2 sides of the album. Highly recommended. Here is Pulsar's very first album, Pollen, from 75. And it's also great. The standout, most eerie track, to my estimation, would probably be Le Cheval de Silogie. very creepy, and it has female recitation of eerie poetry, which is very haunting and atmospheric. Great band here, top notch. All their albums, for me personally, I rate a 10. And here's their second album from 1976, The Strands of the Future. Just another fantastic album by them. Kind of reminds me of just a bunch of demons coming out of the pit, and they're coming to perhaps taunt and tempt that young guy there standing on what's like a boardwalk or the edge of a pier in a rainstorm, or waves splashing up on it, and there's flies flying all over the place, and you're looking kind of down on his head as he's walking toward the edge, and it's like they're anticipating his suicide to take his soul. And if, you know, Beelzebub is the lord of the flies, so just very creepy imagery there. Also, the inner cover there is very, very eerie. The marching dead, perhaps in a nether world. Very strange. Yeah, Cosmic Pickle, Gary, the jazz guy in the vinyl community. Hi, Gary. He was telling me in a email that he had left this album behind at his old place, and he regretted it. He was kind of in a rush and he had to leave stuff behind, and so I surprised him with replacing that album in his collection in the in the LP format. And we was talking for a while, kind of throwing around ideas as to what the pictures were trying to portray on that particular album cover. Yeah, very interesting. I love Pulsar. Here's one of their latest albums. They've since released one in the 2000s with a red cover and a horse on it. I forgot the title of that one. But this here is from about 88, 89. This is Gorlitz, and this is another masterpiece. The long title track on here on side A, Gorlitz, takes up the whole of the album side, and it is an absolute masterpiece. Side B is also incredible. This is a must check out. Oh my gosh, they've been a long time favorite of mine, and rank as probably one of my top 10 favorite prog groups of all time. Space art here. Now, Laser in November is the creepy track off this one. Just a wonderful creepy atmosphere here. Although most of it is very spacey. This is their debut. And then they had Trip in the Center Head from 78. This is from 77. And then they had from 79 Playback 3. Yeah. But the first two are their best albums if you're wanting to get into them. And when Tangerine Dream had their North American tour in the United States here in April of 77, they produced this wonderful album, Encore, with 4 long epic tracks spanning the 2 LPs, 4 sides. And the standout track on here that I feel most conveys this time of year in its eeriness, the connotation that Halloween, has going for it, is Desert Dream, 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Wow, awesome. And how appropriate that back cover there. It just fits the mood perfect in this time of year. Love it. And then Tangerine Dream's 1972 Zeit, meaning time. The whole album is a masterpiece. Again, 4 movements over the 2 LP's 4 sides. Every track is a Psych eerie masterpiece. It's like you're in another world, never yet explored. really takes the listener on a journey here. Edgar and the boys do a fantastic job on that. Love it. Here, Tomita, Isao Tomita, his Firebird suite. You know, he does interpretations of previously existing classics, and he has a gift at replicating and then adding his own personal embellishments and you know, flavor and personality to all these old songs, and does a fantastic job. And here, the Eerie track that stood out for me was Infernal Dance of King Casche. That particular song, the Infernal Dance of King Casche, that was used on a Saturday afternoon science fiction movie theater on KCMO TV5, Kansas City, Missouri. When I lived up in Kansas City, every Saturday afternoon they'd have their science fiction movie theater, and Ed Mascari was the host. You'd just hear his voice in the background, and it would start up with this giant whirling vortex, kind of like the time tunnel, and with different colors, and all the rings which repeated over and over the lettering science fiction movie theater, smaller and smaller as it rotated. And you heard this music in the background as Ed Mascari welcomed you to the science fiction movie theater and told a little bit about what show we were going to see that day. I just love that. And here we have Zanov, Pierre Zalkazanov. This is his debut, Green Ray from '76. A French composer here of all electronic synthesizer music. Absolutely fantastic debut by him. The standout track on this particular album that I thought was very appropriate for this creepy, eerie, atmospheric time of year was Machine Desperation. It runs 10 minutes, 22 seconds. Just fantastic. The other songs are very dark too. This is his darkest release from '76. And then Vangelis, a lot of the movie from his Heaven and Hell album here, a 1975 release when he switched to the RCA label from Polydor and some other labels he had been on. Well, some of this music was used on Carl Sagan's Cosmos PBS series. You have your heavenly side and then your hellish side, and the progressive tracks take turns with female vocals, kind of like a Yoko Ono warbling, eerie but not as screeching and high-pitched, that emulate the sound of demons, unsettled and at kind of unrest, kind of just ooh, you know, in the background during the music. So it just creates a really scary vibe. Yeah, I highly recommend that album there. And then from the UK, we have Uriah Heep. They were on the somewhat darker side of progressive rock. They were always known for their incredible, kind of creepy, operatic type vocals. And this is their, I believe, their debut here. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, this is self-titled here. It has a strange, demonic, reptilian, dragon-type centipede creature coming out of a pit. Maybe coming out of hell. Perhaps that represents Abaddon. And then their second follow-up here from 1970. This was Salisbury, another great album, notably for the long epic track Salisbury, which runs 16 minutes and 22 seconds. Just a classic masterwork of progressive with a horn section, very dramatic, very grand scale piece of music here. And I love that they're kind of skeletal charcoal drawing on black, red background canvas. Very eerie and dark. Yes. And here's their Abominog from much later, 1982. Eerie, creepy cover there. And the music is very good on this, actually. There was a phase where their music kind of waned a bit, but that album, it picks up. Here's another Tomita classic, Bermuda Triangle, set around the theme of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, combined with the Bermuda Triangle stories. Yeah, very eerie here, and very beautiful. I would say that, as I said in another video, I would rank this third after Snowflakes Are Dancing, which is his debut, and then I think my favorite by Tomita is Bolero. So if you're wanting to get into Tomita's music, Isao Tomita from Japan, his 1979 Bolero, that was the title, working title over here in the United States on that particular release, which was released in '80. It was originally released in '79 with Daphne and Chloe, working title for the Japanese pressings. So Bolero, Daphne and Chloe, one and the same. Probably his best work of his, interpretations of the classics. And then Snowflakes Are Dancing from '74, his debut. And then this 1978, I believe, or is this 79? 79 here with Bermuda Triangle. The whole album is just very eerie but very beautiful at the same time. And here is one by Celluloid, and the title of it is Mercury. I think he had only one other release after this in '83. I believe this is his best one, though. I showed this in one of my singular videos with a title, Nobody Has This Album, which Ron, My Lung Puppy, and the VC had started a whole bunch of threads showing some rare stuff that he had, and I followed suit and showed this as one that I didn't think anybody had. Very eerie all the way through. One man on a whole bunch of keyboards, a lot of Moogs. I think he uses 5 or 6 Moogs with special electronic treatment to give them a totally unique and incredibly otherworldly, eerie, haunting sound. And then he sings in about maybe 40% of the music here. The rest is instrumental. But yeah, just very creepy. Future Sound of London, or as this new, the world we're in now has so many abbreviations, this just goes by FSOL. But I call it by its full name, Future Sound of London, which I do everything else. I'm not too much into all this here abbreviation crap. This is a great album. Somewhat, man, how would you describe this one? Kind of a techno ambient, progressive rock, very artsy. They do some amazing computer-generated graphic videos on AMP Videos, which was a show on MTV that ran in the late '90s when this type of music was kind of becoming popular. There's some kind of creepy shots on the back cover. The 3 standout tracks on here that would fit the creepy, most creepy anyway, and you'd have to listen to these 2 songs in order that I'm going to give them here, and as a whole, both together, they just flow and make a great piece. Herd Killing and Dead Cities. And if you wanted to follow up on those 2 pieces for kind of a finale to those 2, is a really beautiful but eerie piece called Glass. Check out those 3 songs. I put 2 of them up on my Google Plus page for you to sample. And then Edgar Froese. Oh, Edgar's Mist. Here on his Macula Transfer from 1976. The one track that I thought fit this eerie feeling, and I put it up on Google Plus, is not NGC, but the Qantas 611, I think is the title of the track. I know Qantas Airlines, as a side note, statistic, has the least amount of crashes of all the airlines around the planet. So that's a safe airline. But just as soon as they reported their safe record, they had a crash. So, but, okay. Gun. Now this is pretty much straightforward, good hard rock with a heavy psych edge to it. This one I'm showing for the cover. Very cool, creepy cover with all kinds of hellish creatures on there coming out of the abyss, maybe in the underworld there. This was Roger Dean's very first job at doing album covers from '68. His very first album cover he did, which I thought was kind of neat. Good album too, highly recommended. 3 guys. Dave Greenslade, he used to be with Coliseum, and then he left to do his own solo work and had members join, and he became Greenslade with his whole new prog lineup. His albums were generally somewhat inconsistent, as the songs weren't necessarily cohesive. They went into different subgenres, but basically resided around the basic prog, genre. But this one here was a standout. I really liked this one here. Had probably the most creepy cover, and the 3 songs that, if you listen to them in succession, one after the other, I like that particular suite. And it's Time, Tide, and Catalan from the last 3 songs on side 1. Yeah, nice band there. And here's another creepy cover, Bedside Manners Are Extra. All around the 1973 to 1975, 76 period for his albums here. I like that back cover there too, with a black cat. Yeah, very atmospheric. I'll turn the record over here. And here's another really good one. This was kind of a surprise for me. I had never seen nor heard of this group. Totally obscure. And the day I found this in the racks, I just had to get it for the cover. And judging by the songs on the back, their titles, and the song length, I gathered this was pretty complex, progressive. And it was. Some of the songs are versions, their own Good God's own take on some of Frank Zappa's songs. Let's see, King Kong. Yeah, there's a Murder of Crows, Galorna Gavorna, King Kong, Dragon Song, Zaragoza, and Fisheye. They all run fairly long. This is a great album. Creepy looking cover and somewhat dark, a dark edge to the music too. Great album here, highly recommended, from '72 on the Atlantic, wonderful Atlantic label. And here's an uber rarity by the Italian rock band Goblin. They became popular in the mid-'70s, and this is one of their earliest works. I found this down in the basement archives, kind of like an underground rocky catacombs beneath the street level. Ron Rooks opened up the Music Exchange there in the Westport District in 1979, and in that original location is where I found this in the basement. in their soundtrack section that was right across from their microwave oven where the guys would go down and have lunch. And then the archive was through a hole that was knocked out in a wall in a bigger area where you could listen to records down there, and there was a restroom and a kitchen, and oh, I just loved hanging out there. But this here is what I found out later to be an American bootleg. And it's got this one here, not all of them, but the very earliest releases of this, the first presses, had a textured cover, and this comes with that textured cover. Deep red in Italian is profondo for deep, and then red, rosso. Profondo Rosso is the original Italian title of this, with the same basic cover. And the sound quality in here, though a bootleg, is equal and in audio fidelity that the regular studio release Profondo Rosso is. You can't tell them apart. Superb audio fidelity here, just like a promo issue with that extra, you know, nice etchings on there for really, you know, full sound. And when I was at the Music Exchange and I saw this, I pulled this out of the shelf there and thought, whoa, what's that? I recognized that name, and I was struck by the interesting back there, and that said to me, promo or something rare. They had 5 copies of this, and I could have gotten all 5. All 5 were only priced at $5 each, and every one of them was sealed in shrink like this one was. I regret not getting all 5, because these are very pricey now and sought after, but very glad to have found this. I'll show you the label here. But yeah, great album. And of course this went along with Dario Argento's movie Profondo, I think it was Profondo Rosso and Deep Red. He did a whole bunch of these horror movies, and you know, Goblin had a reputation for doing many horror movie soundtracks. This is one of them, Suspiria, from 1977, a classic about a dance school with this here witch living up in the top of this I don't know, this dance, kind of a gothic structure where the girls lived, kind of like a college. Yeah, just a very creepy movie. Terrifying soundtrack. Kind of has a jazzy tinge to it also. Claudio Simonetti and the other guys there. And then one of their studio albums, one of their very few that weren't a soundtrack. This is Il Fantastico Viaggio del Bagoroso Mark from 1978. Excellent album here. Creepy. Really great sounds that, you know, highly recommended. And then Contamination, another eerie movie. And this one's quite a bit jazzy here, actually. From 1980. And then Neuronium, Michel Huygen from Spain, him and his partner here. I think Carlos, can't remember his full name, but I think this was their debut. And then they had Quasar, and then some letters and numbers to the title after this. And then Digital Dream, and The Visitor, and Chromium Echoes, and Invisible Views, and others. But yeah, their first 5 or 6 albums, I think, are their best if you're getting into their stuff. This is a really good one here. Very dark. And this is one, I believe, that, nope, it was The Visitor that has Nico, some poetry that she's reciting during the song in it. But I like this for that they're kind of like a cavernous a cavernous, like you're just falling down into this here void, real deep. The artist they hired to do all their album covers did the same type of drag. He'd put paint down the canvas and then just kind of drag it to get this here strange effect, which I thought was very interesting. And here's their best album, to my estimation, Digital Dream. Kind of a dark, you know, they're dark, just kind of in the shadows there. You really can't see their eyes. They're very mysterious. And then the back cover there. Yeah, this is their masterpiece. Just excellent music. Very dramatic and emotional. They refer to their electronic keyboard-based music, which has a lot of guitar in it, as what do they call it? Psychotronic? They give a particular name of their patented sound style, but the name escapes me now. Here's Moody Blues. I always like that cover there. Kind of dark. The album is just more your light, upbeat, melodic, progressive psychedelic, but I love that cover there from 1968, their second album after Days of Future Past classic. And here was one that was kind of creepy in its odd way. Just the look on that gal's face. And that's the non-censored cover there. Mom's Apple Pie. This band sounds a lot like Chicago, heavily horn-based. Look at all those members there. But yeah, they put out a great progressive. This sounds like Chicago. And then Maxophone, 1975, another great Italian band. I love, this is a fold-open cover. I can't fold it open because I want to keep it in the shrink, but just look at that wonderful landscape there. I just absolutely love that scene. The guys, it stretches out into one picture, and the guys are on a boat, and the boatman there, it looks like he's transferring him into another region, an uncharted region, kind of mysterious. I should have brought some water down here, all this talking, and the air is getting drier now, and the humidity is very low. It stays about 20 to 30% down here in the fall and winter. Here is one I liked for the kind of creepy cover. The chrome head there reminds me of the robot police from the movie THX 1138, which is a George Lucas sci-fi classic. He originally wrote that movie when he was in college and at the age of 23, and it became a short film called the THX 1138 EB4 or something like that. About a 12-15 minute short film about the future, what the future world was going to be like, and then it eventually became a full-blown theatrical release in 1970. Or was filmed in 70 and released in the spring of 71. But yeah, that is a wonderfully prophetic movie that you can see has a lot of it has come true now. But this album here, LEM, I guess taken after the supposed moon lander of the supposed moon missions, LEM, Lunar Expedition Module or whatever. These guys are out in California, I believe. The title is Machines, and they produce some really cool, funky, progressive rock on here, space rock. Really awesome. Highly recommended album here. Very obscure. This is the only copy I ever saw, ever in my life. So, not many copies out there to my knowledge. I found that in the wild, I think, at the Music Exchange or Caper's Corner. Here's kind of a dark, mysterious, with the shadows there, multiple doorways. Reinhard Lackamy and Rainer Olix, Zeiten, Timon. Somewhat dark electronic works there. And then these here computer-generated heads of the 4 Kraftwerk members I thought was kind of eerie. Electric Cafe. Yeah. Klaatu. And this was Hope. Their album called Hope. And I like that eerie imagery there. I recommend all of Klaatu's albums. Originally, Klaatu's debut, called I think 314 or it had a time. AM was the title on Daffodil Records, and people for a while thought that was a reunited Beatles because it kind of sounds like their style, and people thought that it was the Beatles incognito. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Kansas. I like this album here for that really eerie, creepy humanoid figure there, made up of all kinds of creatures. Looks like sea denizens of the sea, crustaceans. Yeah. Kansas does some great work. Here's Julian's Treatment, a time before this. Just love that creepy, kind of a post-apocalyptic, or like I imagine H.G. Wells, the time machine going way into the future like he does, to the year 802,701. And the book is different from the movie, where he just sees things kind of dying down and slowing down. And the imagery presented, somewhat in my mind, the way I perceived it while reading the book, is captured right here in a nutshell. Yeah, just love that artwork. And then, of course, Jethro Tull's Aqualung. There is Aqualung. Yeah, snot running down his nose are the lyrics to that song. Great album. I like all of Jethro Tull's first probably 4, 5, 6 albums. And then the very creepy music here. It just surreal nightmare imagery with distant mournful cries in the background. A very ambient industrial masterwork here. I love it. Industrial at its best. Wow. The vocal sound collages, the avant-garde edge, just excellent. Yeah, this was actually a film as well. Of course, Jean-Michel Jarre, his masterpiece here, Oxygene. I heard this on a PBS show one afternoon on a snowy day. I got to stay home because the roads were kind of dangerous. The next day or two after that, they had gotten the roads taken care of with the snow plows, and I just had to know who this was. I had described it at the counter for some of the guys at some of the record stores, and they couldn't place it. So I just went down to the source where I had seen it, which was KCPT Channel 19 on Main Street as you approach downtown and go in a valley and then back up toward the river there. And there's a big tower there about 1,200 feet high, and then a smaller transmission tower, which was KCPT's. I went inside, asked to speak to the program manager that put together the in-between show filler music for the channel, and he was very cordial. And when I described what I had heard just days before, he said, "Oh yeah." He said, we just received that here not too long ago. That's a French musician. His name's Jean-Michel Jarre, and it's from this album." And he showed me, and I went right down and bought it. So yeah, I was very happy to find that album. I thought this was a little eerie too. All those naked women. I think all lesbians in ISIS here. Yeah, all girl band, all musicians, singers here. They do a great job. Very funky grooves. A little on the, yeah, they're soulful, funky, and progressive. This is their most progressive album. Ain't No Backing Up, I think, was their second, but this is their best. Yeah, just kind of creepy. They've got that their silver body paint on them. Yeah, the pyramid. And here's one, I think, where are they from? Sweden, perhaps? I'm not sure the country of origin here, but this is a reissue. It says reissue of impossible to find psychedelic masterpiece. This is one of the best Pink Floyd-esque psychedelic albums from the 70s. This is from 78. Remastered in the UK by Gary Rahman at Third Eye Studios. 180 gram vinyl pressing on Acme Records ADLP 1083. This is England pressing here. Ikra Staklena Perli. Excellent, excellent. I heard this, fell in love, had to have it. Yeah, great album here. And here's one you might recognize. Yes, Derek Higgins in the VC. Musician extraordinaire, rather dark piece there, a subdued type of dark. Although the music isn't that dark, but that, you know, that church steeple there, how the religion has somewhat been corrupted in most churches now, this organized religion, myths and realities, yeah, it's been tainted. Kind of a theme, I'm guessing, with that church steeple there he's trying to convey. Here's a one that is really a good album. Gypsy. They had 2 albums. This is their debut, or their second. No, this is their second. But I like this album for the creepy inner sleeve, and it looks exactly like another photo off of Tonto's Expanding Headband, where Robert Margouleff and Malcolm Cecil went by the name Caldera and had their Moog Mass from 1970. It had this here, what looked like a fortune-telling gypsy, like at these carnivals, these creepy animatron type robots that are made to look human, kind of like a wax, something you'd see in a wax museum with a crystal ball. And I think they used that and kind of changed the headpiece and the clothing to make it look like the Virgin Mary for that Moog Mass. But in this one, I think it's about the same photography, but it just is just creepy looking. Creepy. And this is the type of thing that scared me terribly when I was a young kid. Going to the carnivals and seeing all these automatron type of machines. You'd put a coin in and they told your future, and a little thing would come out after she read her crystal ball, and they had a little message on it for you. That's just downright creepy. Yeah, just creepy. But yeah, Gypsy, and this one is called In the Garden. And then I think their self-titled is their first one, and it's, I think, a double LP. Yeah. And then I like the dark imagery on here. This is Gong's Espresso. Their Espresso on the different releases had 2 different covers. This is one with a giant espresso machine flying over New York City on the huge island of Manhattan there. Yeah. And there's where the World Trade Centers would have been, right about there. And then the Empire State Building right up in there. And the Chrysler Building over in that locale. Yeah. But yeah, isn't that a interesting... when I first saw this, I didn't pay that much attention until I really started to look closely at the details, and then I recognized, my gosh, that's Manhattan. But yeah, I just love it for the dark imagery there. And then Gentle Giant, Octopus. There was kind of a Roger Dean cover, and then this one here. This one here is the more eerie cover, that pickled octopus and floating in from a jar of formaldehyde there. Kind of eerie. Gentle Giant's Three Friends. He's a friendly kind of guy, but he still looks kind of creepy. Yeah, Gentle Giant. Stellar musicianship. Love them. Ray Manzarek. Creepy cover there. You know him. And then the back there, kind of a golden scarab. Kind of an Egyptian type of theme going on there with his gold face paint. And you remember Coven, they had the big hit in the 1971 110 Soldier. Yeah, 10 Soldier, 110 Soldier rides away. Brother Don't Hate Your Neighbor, something like that. The song was used in the movie The Legend of Billy Jack, which I saw at the Twin Drive-In in May the 1st of 1971 with my friend Danny, one day after his birthday party. It was on North 291 Highway over in Independence. We saw this movie, and that's where I first heard this song. And here, of course, the band members have all their faces blanked out. Black Cat there. And notice the finger symbols there. Yeah. There the other guy has his hand gesture up. And I think she was a witch. Not sure. But yeah, some of their albums were kind of campy and others were a little bit creepy. So yeah, you got a very subtle eeriness there. And that'll wrap up this installment. And for the third part, that's coming up. So, see you on the next one, folks.